This is Get Real with Bob and Stacy, the show that helps you learn about the mortgage and real estate markets. Get the inside scoop from their expert list of guests and have some fun along the way. Now, here's Bob Gallagher and Stacy Alcorn.
Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real. I'm your host, Bob Gallagher, and joining me in studio today is a recurring guest here on Get Real, Nelson Zide with ERA Key Realty Services in Framingham. Nelson, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you, Bob. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah,
always a pleasure.
It's wonderful having you in.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here, Bob.
So
You're one of the finest loan officers I know.
my moonlighting.
I'm just letting you know.
Radio
Finest,
by
finest.
day, loan officer by night.
Finest.
So we asked you in so you could give us an update on the real estate market in Metro West. What's going on out there these days?
Well, what's going on right now, Bob, is very similar to what we've had the last 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We have a very tight inventory market.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to change. It's not going to change now. It's not going to change in another year or 2 years.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the horizon that is going to change the tight inventory market that we have. And probably even more so on that first or second time home seller.
Yeah.
Those people aren't moving up as much as I think everyone would like them to move up.
Yeah.
Because there's just not many choices as you keep on going up the ladder.
Yeah, it used to be if you sold for 3, you could buy something for 4.
Yeah, that's
now
really
you sell
tough.
for 3, and the next move up is not 100,000 anymore.
Right. And most single-family homes in Metro West are over 3. So and it's funny when I see my older clientele say, well, I want to sell my big house and go to an over 55 community to downsize.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying more of the same money for an over 55 community than you're selling your house, and you're paying a condo fee.
I can't get over it. The ones that they're building, I don't know who's building them, but right on the Pike in Framingham.
Oh, Northside Meadows.
They're in the 600s.
Oh, yeah, 600 plus. I mean, the base is 6, never mind all the extras.
Yeah, so they're probably closing more like 7s.
Closes into the 7th if you want all the extras. I mean, you don't have to.
Right.
But if you want, it's a great location as long as you like to hear the traffic of the Mass Pike.
Right.
And as soon as they finish the assisted living center, they're building next to it.
Yep.
So if you can't afford to stay in your place or you're getting more ill,
Right.
you don't have to move far. You'll be able to go right to the assisted
Still
living
the same
center
complex.
right next door. Same area.
Wow.
Easy move. You know, you can walk your stuff over.
Do you think you'd ever see those prices for something that's literally looking out your backyard as the Pike?
No. But Framingham is one of the last communities that started allowing over 55 construction, multifamily construction. As a matter of fact, Framingham it's kind of an interesting situation. Framingham had over a 40-year moratorium on multifamily building.
Jeez.
For over 40 years, you couldn't build multifamily without a special permit.
Wow.
Because when all the apartment buildings went up on Route 9, the Chapel Hills, and all the
Yeah.
others was now condos, but they're all apartments, they put a moratorium because they all were built at the same time.
Right.
What's going on right now is you've got over 3,000 apartments being built right now in the city of Framingham.
Wow.
All in the downtownish type of area.
High rises?
High rises, 3,000 apartments in 3 different complexes that I'm sure they're going to be going on for $1,800 to $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
And they're all going to go online the next year and a half when they're all finished. But they're all up.
Wow.
They're being built. Never mind the over 55 communities, which one is already in the process of being built. They're like 65, 70% sold
Right.
out. There's another one that's almost ready to go. And there's a second one that the permitting process is very, very close. And all of a sudden now you had nothing 3 or 4 years ago, and now you've got
tons.
I want to use this word, a plethora of choices, a plethora.
Wow.
Which
I
would
had
be
no
interesting
idea they
to
were
see.
doing that much apartment building.
Over 3,000 apartments, one in the Mount Wade area, one right in downtown Framingham where the old fabric place used to be, and one where the old Harley Davidson place used to be on 135.
Oh, wow.
And they're building, each one is over 1,000 apartments.
Jeez. But you know what?
Big.
We desperately needed them for a decade now, so.
They should have had it a decade ago, and they wouldn't be fighting with each other
Right.
for all the apartment dwellers to come out. Now, I think in the long run, it's going to help the residential real estate business. One, it's going to increase prices even more because when those people start living in the Framingham area,
Yeah.
and they'll see how nice it is.
They're gonna
where
wanna
we are.
stay.
They want to stay, and then after 2 or 3 years, they'll forget renting because they're going to buy for what they're paying for rent, and you're better off buying than renting.
Right.
So I don't know how. Then I think one or more of them, those buildings may end up going to condominium at some point in time.
Oh, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that happens.
Yeah. Now that
pretty
may be
much
5 to
immediately.
10 years. Well, I think there's going to be 5 to 10 years down
Yeah.
the road, but I think that makes only sense because now they're going to say, well, I can't rent enough of them, so I could convert some of the buildings to condos. But it still does not solve the housing shortage.
No.
Nobody's building first-time homes. You can't. It's too expensive.
Right.
So if I could find you a lot for $150,000 or $200,000, it's going to cost you another $200,000 to $300,000 to build.
Right.
And that now I'm already up to $450,000, $500,000.
Right.
Where's that? That's not a first-time home buyer house.
It's not.
So the builders aren't building that; they're building the McMansions,
Right.
Because they know they can get $600,000, $700,000 for a big colonial.
Right. So what we need to see happen is like what they did in the 50s and 60s, like huge vacant tracts of land. And I mean, people would probably be surprised at how much land there still is in Framingham on the outskirts, certainly, not on the
way up on the north side, but it's very expensive land.
Well, that's the thing.
And it's expensive to develop because there's no sewage up there. They're all
Right.
septic systems.
Right.
And nothing is cheap. That's the
That's
problem.
true. But I will say that the governor has been talking about this for a while. They're talking about changing the zoning, changing the EPA requirements, basically to strip out all the ridiculous overhead that's involved that makes that land so expensive to develop. Because the only thing that's going to solve the problem is if we actually start building huge neighborhoods of single-family ranches or small colonials.
The problem is that your major builders, your national builders, they can afford to buy the large tracts.
Yeah.
And they already know to build a first-time home buyer house is not economically feasible.
No, even if it was, they're not going to build it and make $10,000 a unit when they can make $100,000 a unit.
And that's why you probably are not going to see that no matter what our governor says.
Yeah.
In our first-time homes, whether they're in Framingham or whether they're further out, whether it's Milford or Bellingham.
Yeah.
You know, they're just not building it, and they're always going to be that until the builders come, and then they put on second stories, which a lot of them are doing.
Yep.
So it makes it very, very difficult for the first-time home buyers, especially if they're coming in from out of the area, and they say, "Oh my God, you mean for $500,000?
Yeah.
I can only get this? I can't buy anything at $3,000?" Well, you can, just not here.
Yeah,
You
that's
have
the
to go
thing.
much further out.
But, and I know this is kind of outside your area because you're Metro West Southern Worcester County, although you do go elsewhere for customers. One of the things we were talking about is, getting pushed west when you're talking about first-time buyers. I remember, we've been working together for a long time, Nelson. Looking at the last, 10, 15 years, it used to be, the last time the economy heated up, it went out not quite to Central Mass.
Yep.
As far as the boom.
Right.
Then this time around, it's gone way past Central Mass. I mean, you're heading pretty far west now. At this point, you're seeing the same kind of price appreciation in places like Athol, which didn't even come close to appreciating the last boom time because nobody went out that far.
Is that still in our country, Athol?
I think so.
Okay, it's out there.
I
don't go that far, Athol, but you're right. It's going up, and if you really want to buy on the lower end of the scale, you do have to go further and further and further out.
Yeah, you're talking like 40, 50 miles outside the city now.
Absolutely.
Just to get a price in the mid-twos.
That's true. But you can still go to Worcester.
Yes.
And you can still find houses, small houses. I just showed a home in Auburn. Just to give you an idea. Now, it's only an 800-square-foot house, a small two-bedroom ranch, but that was $229,000.
Right.
So you can still do some of those things.
Yes.
That's out there, but they're few and far between. And then the buyer has to make a very quick decision.
Yeah.
Because there's 29 other buyers.
There's no thinking about it because by the time you've decided, if you think,
you
it's
lose.
gone.
And in this marketplace, from the buyer's perspective, as you just said, Bob, thinking is not allowed when you're buying real estate.
Not these days.
Okay, because it just won't be there, and there's too many other people
Right.
looking to buy.
Remember, it seems like another lifetime. Do you remember back in the day when it was, I shouldn't say a complaint, but one of the issues with being a real estate agent was your buyer had the pick of like 40 houses that they had to see.
Oh, boy, do I remember those days. That was like 08, 09, and 10.
Right.
Right after the crash when there was a ton of inventory.
Right. Now it's the opposite. Now there's 40 people for every house.
Every house. And you really cannot think. And I will tell you from the negative side for the seller, they all think because the market is so strong, I can price my house at any price no matter what, and I'm going to get it. And that isn't always true. Sometimes it is, but I got to take a step back. You're in the lending business. I already know if I sell a house for $50,000 over price, over asking price, I better have some very good comparable data.
Yeah.
Because for the bank appraiser comes, unless I'm paying cash.
Right.
But the bank appraiser comes, and there is no way I can justify 40, 50, 60, sometimes even 10,000 over.
Right.
I can't justify that.
Right.
So the seller doesn't move on. The buyer doesn't get it. We have to renegotiate down the road. That doesn't make any sense. So if
Right.
you're a seller out there,
Right.
you have to look at what the reasonableness is of your price range
Right.
in order to get it through a bank appraiser.
And how about this, Nelson? I'm sure you'll agree with me on this one.
Oh, maybe, Bob.
You have to hire a professional agent who does this as a full-time job and who has experience, and you have to take the advice that you're paying them to give you.
Right.
So if they tell you that, sure, you could price here, your house is going to be on the market for 6 to 12 months, don't take that as there's a chance I'm going to get my price.
Can you come with me for all my listing appointments?
I wish
That's
I
what
could.
I want to know. Well, the thing is, unfortunately, a Zillow has not helped us.
Right.
Because most of the time, Zillow's estimates, and I know they're out there. I'm not worried about them, but they're high.
Yeah.
The only problem is, because they're one of the easiest sites
Yes.
to maneuver, everyone believes Zillow, but they don't read their front page.
Yeah.
Because even Zillow says we're wrong 20 to 30% of the time.
Yeah.
That's according to
That's
Zillow.
a lot of the time.
Right. That's a lot.
Yeah, we found that they're most accurate in urban centers that have a lot of statistical data to use.
Right.
But when you go out from the cities, they get much less accurate.
Much less accurate. And your point is very well taken. I mean, to say, well, I'm going to use my friend who is doing this part-time for 2 years, and I'm going to listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And it's really difficult out there, whether you're a seller or a buyer. If you are going to use an agent who is not well-trained, doesn't know the marketplace, because they are a friend of yours to help them out, I'll tell you what I would do. You call me. Let me do the business. I'll pay your friend a referral fee just because they're licensed.
Right.
And then you get the best of everything.
That's the
they
best way
get
to
some
do it.
money. You get your professional advice to
Right.
be able to sell your home in a timely fashion at a reasonable price, and then you have someone's going to take care of everything.
Right.
That's what you need.
And the friend gets to learn from one of the best.
You're right. And I don't care where they're at.
Right.
I mean, I've had clients who tell me, well, I have a good friend in the business. Hey, you want to use your good friend, please.
Yeah.
Just remember, you are now selling or buying the most expensive item you ever will in your life.
Right.
And I give them an analogy. The analogy is, if you have a pain in your heart, are you going to go to a foot doctor?
That's right.
I mean, realistically,
No.
And are you going to go to the brand new cardiologist?
Yeah.
Or the one has all these awards?
Yeah. Do you want to go to your drinking buddy
Yeah.
who barely passed med school? Or
Right.
do you want to go to the top of the class guy?
Right. And your drinking buddy is still a cardiologist, but he may
Right.
not save you.
Exactly.
Where the top of the line, that's where you want to go.
Right.
Because that's where you're going to get the best treatment, the best advice, the best everything. And when it comes to your body, isn't that what you want?
Yeah.
To me, it's the same thing in real estate. It's the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy or sell. Why are you going to people out there who don't know anything?
Right.
And it happens all the time.
It does. It does. You know what? Because people don't realize
Right.
just because your friend has a license, I mean,
Right.
it doesn't take a lot of time to get a license. You got to pay the fees. You got to go to the classes.
Yep.
But it's like when you went to college. You didn't come out of college knowing everything you needed to know about the business you're getting into.
Wait a minute, I didn't? Oh, no, sorry.
You might have
No,
because
no.
you're a genius. but-
No. Okay, and the other thing, just so people will know, is that the discounters, which in my industry it's called the disruptors, and I'm not going to mention any names on the air,
Yeah.
but you know what? You do get what you pay for.
Yes.
And when I have people who call me after they've went and talked to a disruptor,
Yeah.
they say, why did I go to them? Well, I know why you went, because they said you'll do it for you cheap.
Right.
Well, you get cheap, you pay cheap, you get cheap.
Yeah, you get what you pay for.
And you never really get everything that you should be getting, and that's why they never do any repeat business.
Right.
Because they're too inexpensive, and they they're only selling money.
And a lot of the, and I know one of the ones you're talking about, again, I won't mention any
not gonna
names
mention
for
names.
obvious reasons, but
Yes.
their whole claim to fame is how much cheaper it is for you to sell and list with them.
Right.
What they don't tell you is after you factor in what you're going to have to pay the buyer's agent,
buyer's agent.
you didn't really save anything,
Right.
and you got nothing for the savings.
And when you need some assistance on the sale of your house,
yes.
and the agent says, I'm not available,
Right.
Because I'm not making any money.
Right.
I said, where was your benefit?
Right.
And realistically speaking, you had none. You actually lost.
Right.
And you had much more aggravation and grief.
Right.
So you pay a few more dollars, but you survive with no aggravation and grief.
Right.
I'll go back to the cardiologist, drinking buddy, last in the class.
Yeah.
Who may or may not save you.
Right.
With the top of the line, that's who I want to go to.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You touched on something a little bit earlier when we were talking here about Worcester, the Worcester market.
Yeah.
That's a bright spot right now.
It
now,
is.
my concern is that we'll be talking about this 5 years from now, and
Hey.
Worcester will be the new Framingham. We'll be talking about having to go to Springfield if you want to buy a house.
You may have to.
Yeah.
But Worcester is still one of the lower priced areas in general.
Yeah.
It isn't up at the politicians, the people there are really trying to promote the city of Worcester for all the businesses they're bringing in.
Right.
Certainly, I mean, as much as I loved Pawtucket, but the Worcester Red Sox coming in a couple years.
That's much closer to you, Nelson.
I know. They're building, a new stadium. They're building up the whole community, bringing in more businesses. That's really good. That helps that community.
Right.
And it's a big, big city.
And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see you buy a second home condo next to the stadium in Worcester.
Well, I may rent something out there. But it's a short drive.
It is a short drive.
And now they're redeveloping all the downtown, especially near the DCU Center.
Right.
The Hanover Theater.
Right.
I mean,
and you've always had the schools, but now you've got the restaurants and the
Absolutely.
businesses. And
so you can go, I mean, if you're willing to commute, it could be your next station for you to go there if you're looking to buy that first home. And then in 3, 4, 5 years, when the appreciation kicks in, if you need to buy something a little bit closer, it'll cost you more going east, but you'll have some equity. You've got a place.
Yeah.
Rather than get something that you may not want when you're coming further east.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Believe it or not, Nelson, we're almost out of time, which is shocking to me.
Amazing, Bob. Just amazing.
That flew by.
Yeah.
I want to give out your contact info.
Sure. Thank you, Bob.
We've got Nelson Zide on the show with us today. Always been an awesome guest. Love having him here. He's with ERA Key Realty Services in Framingham. He covers Metro West, Southern Worcester County, and other parts of the state on a case-by-case basis. If you're looking to buy or sell, you definitely want to give him a call. He's an outstanding agent. I've had real experience working with him over the years, and he's second to none. Give him a call at 508-277-7794. Again, it's 508-277-7794. Nelson, I want to thank you again for coming on the show.
Hey, Bob, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
And I'm sure we'll have you back real soon.
I certainly hope so. Thanks, Bob.
We're gonna take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after these messages.